Fantastic. So, hello, welcome to the battle for HR supremacy between Dynamics and Viva. We'll introduce all ourselves in a minute. There's a collection of us you can see is gaggled around. Gaggled, is that a word? I think I've just made it up.
It is now.
Yeah. We will start with a big thank you. I know many of you have seen this today, but genuinely, these events do not happen without the sponsors. It just won't happen without them. So do go and have a chat with them. I've seen a few people out there just sat there bored, kind of, just go and have a chat with them, see what they're doing, see what they think about the weather. They're kind of bored. So, go and have a chat, and then they can tick off their metrics for the day and make everyone happy, and make sure they keep making sure these events happen. So do have a chat with them as well. Whoops. So we'll go through myself. My name is Kevin McDonnell. I'm the head of practice for Modern Workplace at CPS. I've been working with lots of SharePoint, Microsoft 365, started in financial services, then headed over to the consulting worlds. MVP for Office Apps and Services. If you like your podcasts, I've had the odd thing that people say it's really nice in the background, just fades neatly into the background, which I think is a compliment. But do have a look for Grey Hat Beard Princess. And I'm also a Viva Explorer, as we all are, and we'll explain a bit more about that later. Anna.
Hi everyone, can you listen to me? It's sounding okay? Okay, so this is me. This is a very old picture of myself, like a year ago or so. But I'm Anna. If you can't pronounce my name, I will invite you a beer. I'm a Dynamics 365 HR practice lead in Accenture. It's a company in Spain. We're Microsoft partners. I am also an MVP of business applications. Well, there are a couple of things that I do. I recently founded my company related with fashion, as you can see, and I'm also part of the Viva Explorers as Viva Aviator because I like to fly, and yeah, that's mainly who I am. And you can reach out. Feel free to send me a message or connect with me if you want to. Well, that's it.
Fantastic. Zoe.
Hi everyone. So as of Tuesday, I am officially the Chief Cat Wrangler as I left my previous job, and I've got a little bit of time where cat wrangling is going to be all I'm doing until I start my next adventure.
And how many cats is it you've got?
We've got 6, and 4 of them are quite big Maine Coons, so it really is cat wrangling. I've spent 17, 18 years working with SharePoint, the last few years working with Teams. And the last 5 years was in a leadership role at a Gold Partner. I'm also an Office Apps and Services MVP and a Viva Explorer. And I'm part of the Women in Teams community as well, so I get super passionate about getting more women into tech and making sure that we've got really visible female role models. And accessibility as well, and inclusion. So those are some of the other things that I spend quite a bit of time talking about.
Fantastic. Sarah.
Hi. So I'll get the MVP bit out of the way first. I'm an MVP too. It's very exciting. I only got mine in October, so I think I'm the newest at the front here. I'm a Microsoft certified trainer, focused on Microsoft 365, worked with SharePoint, Office 365, the work since it first came out, since it was called BPOS. Anyone remember that?
Those were the days.
Good. I'm the Viva realist. That's my role in the Viva Explorers, so it's my job to make sure we know what is actually available now. So that's me.
And can I just check, you're not a founder from Proximo 3. That's an error that I've only just noticed, isn't it? Yeah. Whoops.
When did I become that? Got a new job.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Hi everyone, I'm Chirag Patel. I work with Patel Consulting. Been working with IT generally for the last 20 years as an IT pro around SQL Server and doing DBA, SharePoint, and BPOS, Office 365, the whole thing. So trying to keep up with the certifications, and I just speak and host events like M365 UK. So that's probably one of the reasons why MVP is there, but just doesn't mean I just like meeting people. techchirag.com is the best way to get to me, and if I can help you out in any ways, then don't hesitate. And I'm also one of the Viva Explorers, so the Viva Enabler. Just do it, basically, and get it going. So.
Okay, lovely. So we'll start speaking about what HR does, and we're not speaking about any system. We're speaking mainly about what we do as a department in a company, and we wanted to share with you what's HR capable of. Basically, we all know if we work for a company, we know that HR does recruiting, right? But we also do much wider job, including the onboarding, the development and career paths, as well as benefits and compensations and training. So HR is not only recruiting and sending LinkedIn offers right away, but it's also all these challenges that we face day to day. So it's in charge of the complete life cycle of employees in a company and starting with candidates. That's basically it. And of course, supporting managers' health and well-being. So this is...
So that's what HR does. Then that's what HR are. But what are they not? And there might be some things you think. For example, they're not just there to scare you. They're not there to terrify you. They're like, oh, goodness, HR's here. I'm in trouble. What have I done? That isn't what HR are there for. They're not just there to put out fires because maybe you've got a senior manager who said something you shouldn't have done and you're kind of trying to keep that all quiet. That's not what HR is there for. They're also not spies for senior management. They're not just there kind of keeping an eye and go, yeah, we're your friend, and then they pass that information. That is not what HR does. They're also not dietitians, as you can tell, from there as well. So they're not just there to kind of keep you healthy and keep you going within that as well. They also, at least, shouldn't be isolated from the company. They shouldn't be off disappearing, making policies. They should be there, understanding, working with you, working with your managers, feeling part of the company itself, and not just thinking everyone's idiots. And they're also, if you think about the journey, they shouldn't just be there nice when you meet them. They're often the first face you meet when you join a company, and then when you're leaving, for better or for worse, they're not there the people at the end that you speak to. They should be there throughout with you, and they should be able to support you through that as well. So when it comes to HR, what is the employee experience, Zoe?
Brilliant. All right. So before we actually start to look at the tech, we wanted to just take a little bit of time to talk about what an employee experience is, what are the kind of things that matter. And this is probably one of the most overused phrases of the last year, but I'm going to say it anyway, and that is that work has changed. It was already changing anyway, but the pandemic and the fact that we all had to work from home just sped up the changes that were coming. And when we think about the macro context that we're operating in, so from a HR perspective, from a company perspective, there are lots of challenges that they're facing that I think are really important to understand. So anybody who's tried to hire recently will know that there is absolutely a shortage of people who have the right skills for modern work. Work is too complex, and that complexity is only worsening. So we've all got more systems to look after, we've got more notifications going on, we've got more meetings to join, we've got more work to do, we've got longer working days and working weeks. That complexity can only get worse and worse. And then when we look at the companies that have done the best out of the last couple of years, those who really thrived through the pandemic are the ones who were able to pivot quickly, to be agile. And when we look at the employee experience and the kind of culture in the organisation that we're building, it's really important that we think about that resilience that's needed and that need for agility, and design that into the future of work. So this slide, I mean, when I put economy on this, I think we used this a few months ago, didn't we? And it was very true then. But actually, if you look at the cost of living crisis, it's even more pertinent now. The economy is facing so many pressures that, again, mean that you need to really think carefully about what it is you're doing, how you're doing it, how your people are doing that. And obviously, part of that does come down to HR within an organisation. And the good thing is, if that you get this right, you can have an exponential payoff in terms of the productivity in your organisation. So again, just looking at some of the context, these are some of the modern work challenges that have been highlighted through research from Microsoft in the last couple of years. So you look at these numbers and they're so worrying. You've got 85% of people saying they've had a decrease in well-being since the start of the pandemic in 2020. You've got 70% of people reporting higher stress levels. You've got 79% of people who say they don't have the right skills to do their job. And actually, 79% of CEOs say their people don't have the right skills to do their job. But only 1% of time in a week is given to learning new skills. So that doesn't marry up. And when you look at the fact that we don't have enough people with the right skills, again, this is a massive problem. And then some of the stats that aren't on this. So since the start of the pandemic, we've all got 55% more meetings in our diary than we had before. Teams chats have increased by over 50% between 9 to 5. And then if you look at 5 p.m. until midnight, the increase in team chats has been at about 70%, which is just absolutely staggering. And from a HR perspective, you know, that work-life balance, that well-being, it's just absolutely unsustainable. So what is employee experience then? What do we mean by that? The definition of this is what people encounter and observe over the course of their lifetime within an organisation. So that start to end that Kevin mentioned. And the way that I like to talk about this, particularly in the context of hybrid work and more people working fully remote, is that when you don't have a physical office anymore, the experience that people have of your organisation through their laptop, through their device, the digital experience, is the employee experience. So if that's crap, they're going to have a crap time. You know, that experience of your culture and your vision and how you work, how productive they are, how much stuff they get done, it's just going to be pretty rubbish. And then lastly, so when we talk about employee experience, when we look at kind of the opportunities for HR and for IT and comms, I think there's some really interesting things that we can start to do with the tools that we've got available to us. So we can start to think about what that employee experience is going to be like. You know, if we know that most of our people are going to be working from home, what is the experience that we want them to have? How do we kind of manage that employee life cycle? How do we give them the tools to do their job? How do we improve their well-being? How do we help make sure that that people can connect to experts in the organisation and access the right knowledge and access the resources and the information about their employment that they need? How can we improve engagement? We're going to tell you.
Well, I think, just very quickly, the other thing, you know, you may be thinking, talking about the pandemic's over on there. But the reality is that all these things were a problem before the pandemic. It's just they've been brought to the forefront of people's mind through the pandemic. And now is the real opportunity to make these tools happen and make that changes, which would have taken a lot longer and people wouldn't have seen the value on there.
So we're going to speak about solutions that we have to offer, and this is where the fight starts. So you can record it if just for fun. Okay, so the first solution that we're going to introduce you is the best of the session. That is Dynamics Human Resources, and this is a picture of my environment, my trial environment, where you can see what the platform is all about. I know it doesn't look as catchy as Viva, but we'll get there. We will get there, and we will discuss a few points about the functionality. That's actually, I'm not going to spoil it. But yeah, that's basically it. It's a Dynamics platform designed for human resources processes from the candidate, from the hire to the fire. I really like to say that. It's actually hire to retire. It sounds better, but yeah, that's basically it. So this is HR. I hope you fell in love with it. And if not, my fellow colleagues are going to make you fall in love with Viva, because that's what they do with everyone.
This is still Dynamics.
Still?
You got one more.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so this one, if you are involved with human resources, you know that this is a standard slide from Microsoft, and we have the complete life cycle, and we include not only human resources, that basically what systems do with platforms, but we also include managers and employees handling the complete process and the complete information regarding benefits, compensation, organizational structure, of course, and two things that I really like that are self-service and managers self-service, where we can, where managers can handle the workforce, and where myself as an employee, I'm able to handle my own processes and information. So that's basically HR, and I'm gonna let the floor to these guys that they do a lot of, I don't know, they show the nice colors of Viva.
So We had Dynamics HR, and I have to admit, before we started doing this talk, I didn't know much about it and didn't realise quite how powerful it was, and it wasn't just for HR and for others. But let's be honest, HR had Dynamics, it was lovely, then Viva came along, and that is the exciting thing that everyone's talking about. Thank you to Andrew Bibby. Is Andrew around? I haven't seen him today. No, he's not coming. Ooh, oh, we give him all that credit we didn't need to borrow. But, you know, Microsoft Viva is the new kid on the block. Yes, quite a lot of the bits in there are actually have kind of evolved from other areas as well. So let's talk about what it is. And because of that, I think it's really important, whenever I talk about Viva, it is the Viva brand, because there's these 5 pillars now within Viva. I know Glint's talking about coming in next year as well within that. But the core 5 that are within that we'll talk about a bit more in the moment. The reason it's the brand is because you hear a new product from Microsoft, whether it's named, renamed, or anything else, and you think, okay, there's something else I've got to learn, I've got to put in another platform, all my users have got to go somewhere else. With Viva, it's all there within Teams, it's all there within SharePoint, it's in those tools that people are using already day in, day out, especially as we've moved to this hybrid working way. Teams is the hub, and there are apps within Teams, and that's the place you go to for that. You've got connections that's there about helping you build connections within your organization, from the organization itself to the employees, from the employees to each other, and to the employees to the tools they need to do to get their job. You've got insights, which is all about that productivity and well-being. It's about that understanding what's happened. You know, you can come up with these grand employee experience programs, but if you're not measuring what the benefit of those is and how things are changing, you're not knowing what's happening. And in the worlds where Zoe talks about being in that physical space, as a leader, as a manager, you can walk around and you get that feeling for the buzz. If you're sat at home at the kitchen table and your manager suddenly appears behind you and you're not married to her, then it's going to be really a little bit strange. So you need ways to be able to get what that feeling is on there. You need that expertise. You know, Zoe talked about that expertise gap that's in there. You need to make sure that knowledge is captured and that the learning is there, that you can get that learning in the flow of work, not necessarily spending days at a course or coming to a great conference, although that's a good idea as well, but being able to get that in that kind of ongoing flow of work, that micro-learning style. And the new kid on the block, Viva Goals, something I'm very excited about. There's a private preview happening on there, and I think they've announced the GA for in August, so keep an eye on that. That is all about objective key results, OKRs. So making sure not only that everyone as individuals knows about what their objectives are, but the strategy of the company, the culture of the company is aligned with those as well. But I think we're all going to talk a little bit more about the pillars, and I think we have up first Chirag to talk about connections.
Yeah, so, Viva Connections, and like Kevin said, it's a brand, and, it's one of the modules, if you like to call it, or one of the pillars. Essentially, it's your gateway to your modern workplace, right? Now, if you think about it over the last 5 years, for some of you who's been using Microsoft 365, Teams is 5 years old, and you got SharePoint, that's been, there for a long time. But a lot of these technologies were almost separated out. As a user, you would go and hit your tile to go into SharePoint, or you'd go in Teams and do chats, everything else. This brings all that together. So nothing is new from that perspective. But more importantly, the benefit there is that as a user, you're able to get access to your targeted, relevant content. Yes, it's part of SharePoint, but it's coming inside your Teams, not just on your desktop, but also on your mobile device as well. And you can configure that experience. It doesn't have to be that logo there. You can put your branding logo, everything else. So every time Teams fire up, it's there. What's important about the cultural side of things is, like the point was alluded here earlier, a lot of people are moving jobs because it's pain, right? People are coming and going. Companies want to improve their productivity, their balance sheets and everything else. So how do you keep that mobile workforce keep going? You come to that Viva, right? Straight away, you got your relevant content. You can, customize to the nth degree of that in order to have your experiences, your tech speak, like the adaptive card extensions, the dashboards, widgets, all these things. And so once you've got that in place, it opens up the doors to all your other areas of the Viva modules itself. And above all, it's free. If you're already using SharePoint,
included, not free.
And I say free in that sense because it's part of your license included in there. So, steps to enable that is very straightforward. You just get one home site of that and kind of run with it. But But yeah, the connection is the key part here, because yes, we don't want that old, died out content itself, and so therefore, every user gets their own personalized content within that.
Next up, we have Viva Topics. So this is all about knowledge. It's about all that content that you've got within Microsoft 365. You've got your documents, you've got your pages, you've got your emails, you've got your chat, turning that into usable content. And it does this through a combination of AI, and we generally recommend that you actually think about it as well, and you have knowledge experts defined for those. And it will auto-tag content with topics that it finds within there, and you can define those topic pages, and it will go and search that through all the content. And coming fairly soon, I hope, is that you can add additional ones in there. So say you have ServiceNow, say you have things like Confluence, you've got other areas you're storing your knowledge, maybe even, hopefully you haven't, but file shares on premise. You can bring that content in via the search connectors, and you'll be able to access that same tagging that goes on within there. You'll be able to surface that, and that surfaces automatically. So where Chirag was talking about Viva Connections, you've got your great news articles on there. I'm sure some of you have joined a company recently and you've got all those TLAs, those three-letter acronyms, you don't know what they mean. They will get automatically highlighted. You can hover over that, get into the topic card and find out more about it. Find out all the content that's there, find out who the key experts that you can go and speak to. So it's about getting that knowledge to the right people at the right time. It's not just about searching for it. It's about bringing that knowledge where you need it as well. Next up, we have Viva Insights.
Brilliant, thanks, Kevin. So Viva Insights is absolutely my favourite bit of Viva, and that's because it focuses on well-being. And maybe this is just because I feel guilty because we deployed Teams to so many people through the pandemic and probably had that negative impact with all the meetings and the notifications. So Viva Insights has 2 levels. Hands up if you get the daily Viva emails. Keep your hand up if you read them and actually do anything with it. Good to see there's a few in there at least. So that is, it used to be called My Analytics, and this is essentially a tool that is included within your E3 or E5 license that provides private insights to you about how you work, your patterns, things that you can improve better, things that you can do better. And it is incredibly useful. So the emails are one part of it, but there is an app in Teams as well that gives you tons of other features in there, which is brilliant. Where I think you get the real power with this, though, is with the organisation level insights. And what this does is essentially rolls up productivity insights for the organisation. It's completely anonymized, so it's not like I can say, right, you've only been working 6 hours a day. So, what on earth are you doing the rest of the time? It's not intended for use like that at all. But what it can do is provide an insight at leader level into the collaboration patterns, the trends, the areas of concern within the organisation, the parts of the business that are consistently working 60 hours a week, or the parts of the business that might be spending 35 hours plus of their 40-hour work week in meetings, which means that they've got no time to get any work done. And this allows you to actually do something about it, which I think is incredibly, incredibly powerful.
Absolutely. And then we have Viva Learning.
Which, of course, they're going to give to the trainer. So, I don't
Not really. This puts you out of a job, doesn't it?
Yes. But no. I spend my life teaching people about these products, and I love an in-person training course, but we can't all go on them. We can't all get to that in-person training course. We can't all take that advantage. And to be honest, it really takes us out of work, and it's not necessarily the most productive way of learning for every piece of learning you need to undertake. And the idea of Viva Learning is it's bringing us bite-sized learning into our workflow where we need it, at the time we need it. So picking up on those topics that Kevin was talking about, we can take those and go and find an appropriate piece of learning about a product, about a technique, soft skills, tech skills. And we can, as a business, deploy our own material into here, video, text, documentation, all to really support the work that we're doing day to day. So it's not just about coming and listening to me talk to you for 8 hours and put you to sleep. No, it's really about embedding that learning and making it a continuous process. So come and listen to me, fall asleep, and then go and look at it in Viva Learning as well to really cement what you've forgotten that I told you on the course.
And then the last pillar that's available now, I mentioned, was Viva Goals. So this is very much about OKRs. If you haven't heard about OKRs, do look at them. It's a fantastic book called Measure What Matters. Tom Short, if you happen to be watching this, yes, you do need to read that book on there. But it talked about the history and the benefits of it. And it's what Google, that they have acknowledged, they've said this is what made them the company they were. Because it's not just about setting those individual objectives, it's about setting that company objective, that vision you've got as an organisation, and putting real measures against it. I'm sure you've heard about SMART, those specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time-based. With Viva Goals, you can track those down all through your top-level organisation OKRs, down to your department ones, down to your teams and you as an individual. And you can see how that tracks down from there as well. So you've got that transparency. And it means when you turn up on Monday morning and go, what am I doing? What is the point of this? How is this matching to the company? OKRs give you that visibility because what you're doing should be tied to that and it should link up to that things. It gives you that thing. I love the story. I went through the training. Viva Goals came from Microsoft buying Ally.io. And they talk about this man who walks and he sees someone building a wall. He said, what are you doing? It's like, I'm stacking bricks and putting cement on there. Oh, that's nice. Goes to the next person. He said, what are you doing? It's like, I'm building a wall. Right, okay, it's that bit more. Talks to the third person. He says, what are you doing? I'm building a cathedral. He had that vision. He could see that what he was doing applied to the bigger picture. And the point of OKRs is to bring that in as well. And what's lovely with it, you can connect into other systems and those key results, those metrics, you can actually get dynamically from your databases, from Azure DevOps, and coming soon, hopefully, more and more of the other Microsoft services as well. So you're not just manually keying things in at the end of the year in a panic. It's an ongoing conversation that you can check in on as well. So this is all, going too far. There we go, there's the cat on there. Why Viva? You know, we've talked about these nice tools, we talked a bit about that, but the reality is you could build connections by talking to people and getting things on there. You could do knowledge by putting things into nice SharePoint pages. Why is it that you need Viva on there? And the answer is, it makes it easy to do the right thing. We all know that we should book focus time. We should make sure we've got time to actually do the thing, so we're not working the evening. Do you do it? No, you forget. Viva comes in and reminds you and puts that time in automatically when it sees that slot, so you have that focus time that your project managers can book over. But that's a different story. With Insights, one of the things Zoe was talking about, that you've got those measures for leaders, but it doesn't just give you those metrics. It will give you advice on what you can do. So if you're seeing people spending too much time sending mails at the end of the day, it gives you tips like send your mail later so that you're not interrupting others' evenings and things like that. It brings that through. It gives employees the tools with Viva Connections and the dashboards that they need to get things done. It empowers you with the knowledge at the right time, and it helps you learn what you need when you need it. All things you could do on its own, Viva just makes it easy to do that right thing as well. Anna, do you want to talk a bit about the
so we're going to
employee
speak.
life cycle?
I'm sorry, what? Sorry. We're going to speak a bit about the employee life cycle, and because we are going to do a lot of, we're going to speak about what we can do with both solutions, but mainly what we have here is what an employee life cycle, like in the theory, is all about. So we know that the employee life cycle starts before actually the employee is an employee. So when we're candidates, we're already being part of this journey. And the recruitment, it's really a really important time where if something goes wrong, the complete life cycle is going to be fucked up. I'm sorry, but that's it. And then we have...
Was that bleeped out on the recording?
Yeah. I'm sorry. Not really. But all right, so then we have the hiring and the onboarding. We all know what that is. We all been there. We all been hired by a company, and we all hopefully had a proper onboard. And then we have some other stuff that is about engaging, building purpose with employees and with managers. as well as, the performance. We are going through performance reviews all the time. We have development to achieve something bigger and to keep growing in our career. And finally, we have the depart, the fire, the retire, as you want to call it. And this is what the employee life cycle looks like.
Can I just say, you can leave without being fired or retiring. There is another option as well.
There is another option, yeah. But this is basically it. And I think that it's a good point to start this conversation around the fight. So
We've got one more. So just thinking about those pillars of employee experience as well. So you've got that life cycle, but Glint talks about their people success pillars. So making sure you consider the well-being of your staff, empowering them. You know, if you want people to be effective at their job, you've got to give them the tools they need and the information they need. You've got to allow them to grow. You've got to give them that purpose that they need on there. You need to give them the ability to focus. You can't keep distracted with notifications. You won't get work done. And you've got to help them build those connections as well. Now, one of the things we realise is if you put these two together in a matrix, there are different points where you can actually get involved with tools to help on that. In fact, let's bring the other one in. So if you look at well-being, you want to help engage people, you've got to understand them with the insights on that. If you want to empower people when they're being onboarded, giving them topics to actually give them the knowledge to help learn those acronyms and things on there. So we know that Dynamics HR and Viva sits in these elements very nicely as well.
I did realise we haven't added Viva Girls onto that, have we?
That's a good point. I hadn't thought about that. That fits on purpose, I think, is the key one along that way. But all these things bring together as well. But today is all about the battle. Slightly one-sided battle, but Anna can more than hold her own within this one.
So, I mean, we've talked about Dynamics HR and what that can do. We've talked about Viva and all of the great things that can do as well. So which is it? You know, if you're a HR manager, which of these platforms is going to be the one that gives you that best employee experience? And there are some really important things to consider. So, you know, where does the data live? And where does the data need to live for things like your data residency rules? How easy is it to get to? You know, you've got licenses. So all this stuff's great, but as with all Microsoft tech, there's a price tag that's associated with that. And the more of this you want, the more it's going to cost you.
And obviously, if you've got Teams already, you've got your licenses, Dynamics, you've got to pay a whole load more.
If you got finance, you don't need to pay it.
All right, so APIs, integration, again, how easy is it to interact with all this data? Come on, get battling.
And you've got search. You know, if you're using, okay, maybe not Team search, let's put that to one side, but if you're going through office.com, you've got SharePoint, you've got all that search, you've got all that information, and Viva just helps with that. Dynamics, you've got to go somewhere else to try and find where that thing is, and you've got to log into a system. It's just a pain in the backside.
It's not needed. I mean, yeah, in terms of, we are searching for different things in the both solutions, so that's the main point, but I have to accept that you're right at that point.
And you think about APIs, you've got all your graph, you've got all your data, you know, I've talked about the search connectors with topics. If you're using graph, you've got it all there. What have you got with Dynamics?
Well, you can integrate it with several third-party solutions, mainly because we solve some challenges that you don't. And it's not that,
yeah.
No, but we can connect with, of course, with payroll, and I know it's not your pain point, but payroll and recruitment.
No one cares about pay. Oh, hang on.
I think we all care about payroll.
And recruitment, or this candidate experience, and most important, that is something that I hope that we can work together. It's that for LMS, Learning Management Systems, we have an API as well to connect with that. And I'm really hoping we can do it with Viva Learning, because I think they're really good together.
Best of both worlds.
Yeah.
Well, I think that is the answer. Actually, it's better together, isn't it, Sarah?
I can speak without the microphone, I promise. Yeah, the challenge here isn't really to decide which tool is best. The challenge is to convince our organisations that we need all of these to holistically manage the full employee experience. Otherwise, we're missing steps, there are gaps. As you've seen, the different products have their strengths, but you really need the two together to give you that holistic overview.
And I think the important thing is that it's not just those two together, it's the employee in the middle. That is the important thing when it comes to employee experience. For years, it's always been about the company, it's been about the leadership. Why I've been so passionate about Viva is because it says, actually, we need to consider each individual within an organisation. They are what makes the organisation happen. You need to think about what their needs are and make it happen, whether it's Dynamics HR with the payroll, learning management systems, whether it's given the knowledge they need. That is the absolutely critical thing that you should be thinking about.
Just one more point, and in terms of, if you look about this technology rollouts from an enabling perspective, that data, whatever it is, Viva Learning connecting to various sources, all the analytics you get, that's all getting stored in the respective systems that's coming through. Obviously, if you wipe those connectors, then that data goes, but you're not storing as such on the Viva itself. There is no database, there is no storage for it. So you're still respecting the existing permissions, the security, compliance, even choosing what sites you want to get the data out, because you may have highly confidential content areas like SharePoint sites. You can eliminate that if you wanted to. So you still have that flexibility to pick and choose what comes into Viva.
So I think the one thing I'll close with these two things together is you may think, great, can you just kind of put these in and they'll all work nicely together? No. They haven't been designed. Despite it being Microsoft, they're different teams within Microsoft. There isn't that much connection between them. And I think we've come together and kind of gone, this is a little bit nuts, that there is the HR stuff there. It's all about the same thing. It should be as one big package. And we all chatted about this. And Leslie Crook, who's sadly not here, hi Leslie, if you're watching on video, she started to bring a few of us together. So we have brought together the Viva Explorers. I don't know, Sarah, if you want to talk more about this.
So as Leslie couldn't join us today as the second Viva Explorer, it's my job to introduce us. So we are a group of MVPs who are interested in all things Microsoft Viva. And we're trying to help organisations understand what the product can offer, or the products, to be more precise, because there are, as Kevin rightly said, it's a brand name. But we've come from a diverse group of backgrounds, hence the different personas that you see represented by our little characters there. And thanks to Moretta for drawing those. But we're aiming to highlight from our diverse backgrounds what this tool can do and how flexible it really is, where it can see benefits. And
why?
Kat, where are you on there? Which one are you? Oh, Kat's a cheerleader. So we've got a cheerleader in the audience as well.
I think on that diverse background as well, one of the things that really brings that home to me is the fact that Anna, who's a BizApps MVP, has actually got involved, because there are so many parallels when you're looking at the people aspect of it with the world that you live in from a Dynamics HR perspective. And I think it's a really great opportunity to start bringing some of these systems together with the people at the centre, exactly like you said.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I had no idea how far we can go with Viva and how it overlaps with some of the things that we do. But at the end of the day, it's not an overlap. It's more of a
complement.
Yeah, complementing. It's more like working together, because we're putting the employee in the middle. That's what we want, employee in the center. And it doesn't matter if we're office apps or business apps or whatever we are. The main challenge, it remains there, and we need to go forward and try to face it.
And as you can see from the links on the slide, we're not just about standing up here and talking to you. We are going to be putting out much more content. We've got a website and YouTube channel all coming soon. Anybody who's got any suggestions, requests, please do let us know what you'd like to see on there. Or
I would say on the website, we said we're all busy at the moment. I kind of was hoping to have it all absolutely ready for today. If you go on there, you'll see a couple of bits that look a little bit coming soon on there. But do go and have a look and check it out there. You're also probably looking at that link for the YouTube and going, blimey, that's a bit long. if you could all subscribe, once we get to 100 subscribers, then we can give it a much shorter name. So if you all subscribe, then we can make it easier for you, which I know is a little bit of a catch-22.
It is worth pointing out, we don't get paid for this. This
It's
is like
very
our
worth
own
pointing out.
time, volunteering it. Yes, we bring the experience, but it's not just about us MVPs, because we also withdraw that learnings across many groups that happens on LinkedIn and various places. Because if we don't do this, and yes, we know the problems are there with organizations, the challenges, then we're doomed in that sense. So this is the next best opportunity to at least try it out, test it out, and be happy with it.
Absolutely. A couple of things. We kind of went very quickly over a lot of Viva subjects. On that YouTube channel, we're starting to put a combination of shorter videos. We've also put where we've done presentations, they're available. We're putting those up on there so you can find out more about the different items, and we'll be bringing more and more into that as well. The other thing I'd say is important about the Viva Explorers is we want to tell people about Viva and explain why you should use it. But we also want to hear from you the problems you're having, why the challenge is, what it is that you don't understand. And that's where we're trying to feed back into Microsoft and bring those teams with Dynamics HR. Even within Viva, the different pillars are often quite silo. We're trying to bring those together to get that more consistent message within that as well. Which
Just before you move on though, Kevin, before we get to feedback, do we want to
segue
open?
there.
Do we want to open the?
But that's what I was going to say.
Do we want to open the floor for questions?
What I was going to say there is let us know what you think, and we'd love to hear from you. So do you have any questions at all?
I hope you do. You.
All
of you.
all for Anna, yeah.
No, of course not. We have 4, and I'm only one. So do.
Sorry, in the website on the rollover of that image, will it say who's who? Because I'm wondering which of those images was you, Kevin.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, do you know, I thought I was going to get away with that.
Transformer.
Yes, so I am the Viva Transformer. I thought I forgot to mention this at the beginning. So my role in this is to sort of say that, yep, you can turn on Viva, but much like Field of Dreams, if you build it, no, they won't come, they won't use it. How do you actually get Viva used within an organization? How do you get that build up? I do a lovely session on building a culture of knowledge with Viva topics on there, because it's not just about turning on the hardware, it's about building that adoption and change and building that culture in there. If you do go on there, yeah, I think it's about us at the top. We do, I think, off the top of my head, we do have who's everyone roles is. If we don't, we will have very
Do you want to know
soon as
now
well.
who we are there?
Go on, then I'll run down with the 5 or 6 of you, that's it.
All right. So, if you have to guess who's me. Yes, that's me. Okay.
So so Anna is the Viva Aviator. Do you want to tell everyone why you're the Viva
Because I
Aviator?
fly planes, I'm learning to. Yeah, I'm on the journey to learn how to fly planes.
So it's nothing to do with Viva, but it's a cool picture.
No, nothing. No, nothing to do.
So I am the Viva Dreamer. I'm the one that goes and talks to people and gets them really excited about the art of the possible and how great life's going to be when you've got Viva Insights and you're looking after everybody. And then we've got
I'm the
people
Viva
like Sarah.
Sarah.
Yeah, Sarah helps keep me on the ground and a couple of the others.
So I'm the Viva realist. So yeah, training, telling you about what you can actually do today, not what's coming, but what you can do now with Viva. So that's my role. That is the one with the camera at
That's right.
at the top there.
Yeah, and I'm the one with my head in the clouds.
And I'm the guy with the spanner. Just turn the configurations, settings on, because you know what you want, so we'll just do it.
What was yours? So
Viva enabler.
Viva Enabler, yeah. Just do it.
Just do it, absolutely, yeah. It's not going
You've
to
got the
break.
easy job. You just follow the Viva Wizard. Job done.
Job done.
What was it you said in your last session? Just turn on the default.
That's it, yeah. Turn the defaults, obviously not the whole organization, of course, small people, small groups, and then try it out, and then get the feedback, get the learnings, and then expand. So it's there.
We have Leslie Crook, who's a Viva visionary. She's sort of looking forward on there. We have Stella Hansen, who's... I'm trying to remember who... What was Stella's role?
I was just trying to introduce you to the Viva
That's the
cheerleader.
Pomodoro, isn't it? It's the Pomodoro timer. I can't remember what.
So Stella's all about focus. If you haven't seen, Stella does a fantastic YouTube series about digital well-being and how you can manage your notifications within there as well. So we do link to that from within the channel. We've got a list of our shows as well worth looking at.
And our Viva cheerleader, you can see, was the one who's shy and retiring.
So yeah, do check us out.
Do you have any questions? Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, you working with Microsoft Program Manager?
Both, I'd say, both.
Yeah, we're trying to connect to as many different people. I think, I hope I won't get in trouble for saying this, but we're finding it a little bit fragmented. It is improving massively, and I think Microsoft have realised that as well and started to bring those together. And I think as the next financial year comes in, it's improving all the time, definitely. But yeah, we're trying to get through as many different areas as possible.
I'd be very interested if you were looking at building out a POC of what an end-to-end experience would look like. It's already done as best it can be from HR and Viva.
With Dynamics and Viva.
Yeah.
That sounds like a challenge for us, doesn't it, Anna?
Yeah.
Share us your name later on.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
No, it's definitely something, and I think, Anna, you talked about the LMS. It's kind of, there's two different things. How can we bring those together? How can we make sure that, we talked about search. If you search for payroll, it should take you into Dynamics and things like that. Building all those different elements together, it just makes sense, absolutely.
Won't that come with Microsoft Search as an extension of constantly adding text and that kind of thing? Will that not be something that's going to just roll out?
Hopefully, yeah.
You'd like to think, and if you look at like some of the recent ignites, they've talked about some of the Dynamics modules where they've got integrations coming into Teams. It may be that something like that happens at some point, but like Kevin said, it's all quite fragmented within Microsoft, and you've got people just working on their own stuff in different places. So.
Yeah, well, you got to bear in mind as well, I mean, that searching experience, it forces users to go and search for things, right? And yes, parts of the search experience is dynamic. When you go to it, it's just there in form of search results. But Viva is still underlined by the whole employee experience. And I think it is still early days because a lot of that, depending on what direction it goes, the whole idea is to make that experience as easy as possible through those things.
And Tony, you will know from the years of SharePoint, you just turn on search and it works, doesn't it? You don't need to do anything at all. So I think there's going to be things that need to happen to make sure not just that it works technically, but you're getting the useful results that come out. Sorry,
and while we're waiting for them to link it up, let's put an entry in our custom search results to point to payroll and send it into the HR app as well, include the link, because we do have that ability. It's not ideal, but it works for now.
Yeah, and add links to things like employee self-service and manager self-service onto that Viva Connections homepage, so that when they're in Teams and they go to their intranet, they've got a really easy route to get into all the stuff that they need. So some of it, hopefully will start to talk to each other, but there are things that you can do to signpost between the different systems.
I think we're in early days, and this connection is going to improve a lot. We have to work on it, and I think it is kind of our work to show up,
Visible.
Yeah, make it visual. What are the opportunities here with the solutions? So I think it's a very good time for us as Viva Explorers and as consultants as well to showcase what we're capable of doing together. I feel like we're going to leave this conference with lots of work to do.
Yeah.
And you don't have to be a Viva Explorer. You can explore this yourselves. I know a lot of you in the audience are already consultants. You're all working in these fields, working with your customers. Feel free to explore it with them and go back to Microsoft through us if you want. And let's help make this tool or these tools together what we need from them, not what Microsoft think we need. Did I just say that
I'm
out
aware.
loud?
Yeah, and on video. Are there any other questions or from that? Because I'm kind of looking at the time and thinking it's getting near to beer o'clock, and I don't want to be keeping you away from that.
We don't want to stand between any of you and a beer.
Or wine or gin or whatever is your tipple of choice. So thank you very much. If you do have more questions, do come find us. We're all floating around sort of tonight and tomorrow. So come and have a chat.
Thank you very much.